The morning began like any other for Commander Laura Bennett. She woke up at 5:30 a.m., completed her daily exercise routine, and arrived at Earth Defense Headquarters by 7 a.m. sharp. With her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun and her blue uniform pressed to perfection, she looked every bit the leader she had worked 20 years to become. At 42, Laura had earned the respect of both her superiors and those who served under her command. Today, however, would test her leadership in ways she could never have imagined. Laura was reviewing reports from the Mars colony when the first alert sounded. Red warning lights flashed across every screen in the command center. "Commander, we have an unidentified object entering Earth orbit," said Lieutenant Alan Garcia, his voice steady despite the tension visible in his shoulders. "It's massive, bigger than anything we've ever recorded." Laura moved quickly to the main viewing screen. "Show me." The image that appeared left the entire command center silent. A ship hung in Earth orbit, so large it seemed impossible. Its dark, purple-black hull seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. The vessel was shaped like a stretched diamond, with smooth sides that showed no visible windows or entry points. It dwarfed the International Space Station floating nearby, making humanity's greatest orbital achievement look like a child's toy. "Size estimate?" Laura asked, working to keep her voice calm. "Approximately 12 kilometers in length," replied Captain Olivia Ross from the sensor station. "Mass readings are off the charts. Our instruments can barely make sense of it." Laura took a deep breath. First contact. After decades of searching the stars, sending signals, and hoping for a response, aliens had arrived. But they hadn't announced themselves or communicated first. They had simply appeared in orbit, a show of technology and power that sent a clear message. They could reach Earth anytime they wanted. "Any communication attempts from the vessel?" Laura asked. "None yet, Commander," Alan replied. "But our systems are detecting energy patterns consistent with scanning technology. They're examining us." Laura nodded. "Alert the President and the Joint Chiefs. Activate Protocol First Light." First Light was the emergency response plan created for this exact scenario. First contact with an alien civilization. Within minutes, leaders from around the world were being notified and moved to secure locations. Military forces worldwide went to high alert status, though everyone understood that if the visitors were hostile, Earth's defenses would likely prove useless against a civilization capable of interstellar travel. 30 minutes after the ship's arrival, as Laura was briefing the President via secure video link, Alan called out, "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the vessel." Laura turned to the communication station. "Put it through." The main screen flickered and an image appeared. The being on screen wasn't as alien as many had expected. It had a humanoid shape with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. But that's where the similarities ended. Its skin was a pale gray with a slight sheen like polished stone. Multiple eye stalks protruded from what appeared to be its head, each ending in a large black eye that moved independently. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, colors rippled across its chest in patterns. A computerized voice came through the speakers as Earth's AI translation systems worked to interpret the alien language. "Greetings, primitive species. The galactic hegemony claims this solar system as its property. Your planet has been designated for resource extraction. You have 30 Earth days to evacuate your population to the designated reservation planet. Resistance is futile and unwelcome." The command center erupted in shocked whispers. Laura raised her hand for silence, her mind racing through options. "Can we respond through the same channel?" she asked Alan. "Yes, Commander. Audio and visual. Link is active." Laura straightened her uniform and stepped into view of the camera. "This is Commander Laura Bennett of Earth's United Defense Force. We acknowledge your message but request additional time to consider your proposal. Our world has over 8 billion inhabitants. The logistics of evacuation would require significant planning and resources." The alien's eye stalk swiveled toward the camera. "Your population size is irrelevant. The timeline is standard for all Level 2 civilizations. The hegemony has processed thousands of such worlds. Transport ships will arrive in 15 Earth days to begin evacuation procedures. Those who resist will not be transported." The screen went dark. They cut the transmission, Alan reported unnecessarily. Laura turned to face her team, seeing the fear and anger in their eyes. Get me the president again, and contact Dr. Winters at Project Harbinger. Tell him we need to accelerate the timeline. Project Harbinger had been Earth's best-kept secret for nearly 20 years. Hidden beneath the Antarctic ice, the research facility housed technology reverse-engineered from a small alien craft that had crashed in 2078. The craft had been unlike the massive ship now in orbit, just a small scout vessel with a crew of 2, both dead on impact. World governments had united to keep the discovery secret, while scientists worked to understand the advanced technology. The president's face appeared on screen, lines of worry creasing her forehead. Commander Bennett, what's the situation? Madam. President, we've received clear hostile intent from the alien vessel. They've identified themselves as the Galactic Hegemony and are claiming our solar system. They're demanding planetary evacuation within 30 days. The president, Catherine Wilson, closed her eyes briefly. Your assessment? They're not here to make friends. This appears to be standard procedure for them. Find developing worlds, claim their resources, and relocate the native species if they're feeling generous. Given their technology level, direct military response would be suicide. Laura paused. However, Project Harbinger may give us options. President Wilson nodded slowly. Dr. Winters reported yesterday that the main system is at 89% operational capacity. We were hoping for more time. Time is something we don't have, Madam President. I recommend moving Project Harbinger to active status immediately. We need to show these aliens that taking Earth won't be as simple as they think. The president looked thoughtful. We need to buy time. Respond to their demand. Tell them Earth requires 6 months to prepare for evacuation. Meanwhile, I'll order all resources diverted to Project Harbinger. After ending the call, Laura drafted Earth's official response. The message was simple. Earth acknowledged the hegemony's claim but requested 6 months to organize an orderly evacuation of its population. It was a stalling tactic, nothing more. As Alan transmitted the message, Laura stared at the alien vessel through the command center's viewport. Humanity had dreamed of meeting aliens for generations. In films and books, first contact was often portrayed as either an immediate attack or a peaceful exchange of knowledge. Nobody had prepared for this cold, bureaucratic annexation. Aliens, who viewed Earth as nothing more than another entry in their catalog of conquered worlds. Message sent, Commander, Alan reported. No immediate response. Laura nodded. Now we wait and prepare. She knew that across the globe, military forces were moving to high alert. Scientists at Project Harbinger would be working around the clock. But would it be enough? Could humanity's last-ditch defense system, built from technology they barely understood, protect them from an empire that spanned the stars? Laura Bennett straightened her shoulders. One way or another, Earth would not go quietly. Dr. Frank Winters pulled his thick coat tighter as he stepped off the elevator into the main chamber of Project Harbinger. Despite the advanced heating systems, the facility buried deep beneath the Antarctic ice remained cold. At 58 years old, Frank felt the chill more than the younger scientists who moved quickly around the vast underground space. Dr. Winters, we've been expecting you, said Dr. Susan Kelly, approaching with a tablet in hand. At 34, Susan was one of the brightest minds in quantum physics. Her red hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept in days. I came as soon as I got the message, Frank said. Is it true? First contact? Susan nodded grimly. And not the friendly kind. The aliens call themselves the Galactic Hegemony. They've basically told us to get off our planet so they can strip mine it. Frank removed his glasses and cleaned them with a cloth, a habit he fell into when processing difficult information. Then we're out of time. Show me where we stand. Susan led him through the chamber, past dozens of scientists and engineers working at various stations. The heart of the facility was a circular platform surrounded by massive rings of equipment. In the center sat a small device, no larger than a car engine, glowing with a soft blue light. The power core is stable, Susan reported as they walked. The quantum cascade is maintaining coherence at 97% efficiency, which is better than we hoped for. Frank nodded, his eyes never leaving the central device. Project Harbinger wasn't just a weapon. It was an entirely new form of physics. The technology had been reverse-engineered from the crashed alien scout ship found in 2078. That vessel had been small, nothing like the massive ship now orbiting Earth, but its technology was beyond anything humanity had ever seen. "What about the targeting system?" Frank asked. Susan tapped her tablet, bringing up a holographic display. "We've achieved 99.8% precision in the test runs. We can target an area as small as a basketball or as large as a small city. The effect remains contained to the target zone with no bleed over." "And the delivery system?" "That's where we're still having issues," Susan admitted. "We have 5 satellite platforms ready for deployment, but only one is fully operational. The others are at various stages of completion." Frank frowned. One platform might not be enough. The original plan had called for a network of 12 satellites positioned around Earth, creating a defensive web that could target any approach vector. With only one platform, they would have a single shot. "The hegemony ships have deployed mining vessels to Jupiter and Saturn," Susan added, reading from her tablet. "They're harvesting the gas giants for fuel and ignoring our request for more time." Frank's expression hardened. "Then we continue with the timeline. Is the prototype ready for a demonstration?" Susan nodded. "The microtest against the asteroid was successful yesterday. Complete molecular dissociation within the target zone. No radiation leakage." "Good," Frank said. "Because I don't think these aliens are planning to give us those 6 months." As if confirming his fears, an alert chimed on Susan's tablet. Her face went pale as she read the message. "They've just destroyed our Mars colony," she whispered. "The mining outpost at Olympus Mons. Thousands of people. Just gone." Frank closed, his eyes briefly feeling the weight of those lives. The Mars colony had been humanity's first major step into the solar system, a symbol of what people could achieve when they worked together. "Then we moved to Phase 2 immediately," he said grimly. "Contact Commander Bennett." 2 hours later, Frank stood in a secure video conference with military and government leaders from around the world. The mood was somber. "The attack on Mars was unprovoked," Commander Bennett was saying, her face grim on the screen. "The colonists were non-military personnel conducting scientific research and resource development." President Wilson spoke next. "This action makes the hegemony's intentions clear. They view us as insects to be brushed aside, not as a species with rights. Dr. Winters, what is the status of Project Harbinger?" Frank straightened. "Madam President, Project Harbinger is operational, though not at full capacity. We have one delivery platform ready instead of the planned 12, but that one platform is fully functional and tested." "What exactly can it do?" asked General Rivera, his bushy eyebrows drawn together in concern. Frank chose his words carefully. "Project Harbinger uses technology derived from the 2078 crash site. It creates what we call a quantum disruption field that breaks down molecular bonds within a precisely defined area. In simple terms, it makes matter come apart. Not an explosion, more like dissolution. The target simply ceases to exist, as a solid form." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. "And you're confident it will work against the alien vessels?" President Wilson asked. "The technology was originally theirs," Frank replied. "Modified by us, but based on their science. Our tests show it should be effective against any material we've encountered, including samples from the crash site." "Commander," Bennett leaned forward, "what's the range of this weapon?" "With our current delivery system anywhere in the solar system," Frank said. "The effect is instantaneous once deployed. No warning, no radiation, no debris." President Wilson folded her hands. "We need to send a message to the hegemony that Earth is not defenseless. Dr. Winters, how soon can Project Harbinger be ready for deployment?" 24 hours, Madam President. We need to launch the satellite platform and run final checks." "Make it 12, she replied firmly. "The hegemony has given us a final deadline of 48 hours before they begin orbital. Bombardment of major cities to encourage compliance with their evacuation order. Frank nodded, though he knew pushing the timeline would increase risks. We'll be ready. As the meeting ended, Susan approached Frank with concern on her face. 12 hours? Frank, we haven't run the full safety protocols. We don't have a choice, he replied, heading toward the main lab. Get everyone together. We're working straight through. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of activity. The delivery platform, a specially designed satellite housing the targeting system, was loaded onto a rocket at a secret launch facility in the Southern Ocean. Teams of engineers worked frantically to complete final checks while others calibrated. The main Harbinger device still secure in the Antarctic facility, Frank didn't sleep. He moved from station to station, checking calculations, offering guidance, making adjustments. This technology could save humanity, or, if something went wrong, cause untold destruction. The pressure was enormous. Finally, with just minutes to spare before the president's deadline, Susan approached him with a look of cautious relief. The platform is in position, she reported. All systems are green. Harbinger is ready. Frank nodded wearily. Now we wait for the order. He looked at the main screen showing the hegemony ships scattered throughout the solar system. Soon one of those ships would vanish, and the galaxy would learn that humans were not as helpless as they appeared. 3 weeks had passed since the massive alien ship first appeared in Earth's orbit. The hegemony had continued to ignore Earth's request for more time. Their mining ships now swarmed around Jupiter and Saturn, extracting gases and minerals. Smaller scout vessels had begun mapping Earth itself, scanning cities and natural resources from high altitude. Commander Laura Bennett stood in the Situation Room beneath the Pentagon. The underground facility was designed to withstand nuclear attacks, but no one knew if it could survive whatever weapons the aliens might possess. Around her, screens displayed feeds from around the world and the solar system. One screen showed a live video call with leaders from major nations, including President Wilson. They've given us a final deadline, Laura explained, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. 48 hours until they begin orbital bombardment of major cities. To encourage compliance with the evacuation order, the room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The hegemony had grown tired of Earth's delaying tactics and was ready to start killing humans to speed up the process. And Project Harbinger? President Wilson asked from the main screen. Ready. For deployment, Laura confirmed. Dr. Winters reports the targeting systems are fully calibrated. We can hit any of their ships with precision. General Paul Rivera, a stocky man with gray hair and a stern face, spoke up. The question remains, do we strike their main vessel or target one of their mining ships as a demonstration? This was the decision they had been debating for hours. The main hegemony ship was the obvious target. Destroying it might cripple their entire operation. But it was also the most dangerous option. If the attack failed or didn't completely destroy the vessel, the aliens would immediately retaliate against Earth. President Wilson's face was grim on the screen. We need to consider this carefully. Our first use of this weapon will set the tone for everything that follows. If I may, Madam President, Laura said, stepping forward, I believe we should target a mining vessel near Neptune, far enough from Earth to minimize any potential blowback, significant enough to demonstrate our capabilities, but not so aggressive as to provoke immediate retaliation against Earth itself. The President nodded slowly. A warning shot. Exactly, Laura replied. We show them we have the means to destroy their ships, but we do so in a way that gives them time to reconsider their position. General Rivera frowned. And if they don't reconsider? If they see this as an act of war and launch a full attack? Then we would face the same outcome as if we'd struck their main vessel, Laura said, but with the advantage of distance and time. Their main ship would need to reposition to attack Earth directly, giving us time to target it as well. The other military leaders in the room nodded in agreement. President Wilson looked at each of the faces on her screen, checking for consensus among the world leaders. Very well, she finally decided. We target a mining vessel near Neptune. Commander Bennett, I want you to personally oversee this operation. You'll work directly with Dr. Winters to ensure the target is acquired and the weapon is deployed successfully. Laura nodded. Yes, Madam President. One more thing, President Wilson added. Before we fire, send a final message to the hegemony. Make it clear that this demonstration is a response to their destruction of our Mars colony and their threats against Earth. Give them one last chance to withdraw. The meeting ended and Laura immediately contacted the Project Harbinger facility in Antarctica. Dr. Winters answered the secure line, looking tired but alert. We have authorization, Laura told him. We're targeting a mining vessel near Neptune. Frank nodded. I'll begin the targeting sequence. The platform is already in position. When do you want to fire? In 20 hours, Laura replied. We're sending one final warning to the hegemony first. Laura returned to Earth Defense Headquarters to prepare the message. Lieutenant Alan Garcia helped her draft a clear, firm statement. Earth rejected the hegemony's demands for evacuation. The destruction of the Mars colony was an act of aggression that would not go unanswered. The hegemony had 20 hours to withdraw all vessels from the Sol system, or Earth would defend itself. Send it on all frequencies, Laura ordered when the message was complete. Alan transmitted the warning, but the hegemony's response came almost immediately. Your resistance is noted but irrelevant. Withdrawal is not an option. Evacuation or extinction are your only choices. Laura wasn't surprised. The aliens had shown no interest in negotiation from the beginning. They saw Earth as just another resource to exploit, humans as pests to be removed. Inform Dr. Winters that we're proceeding as planned, she told Alan. The next 20 hours passed slowly. Around the world, military forces went to their highest alert level. Civilian defense plans were activated, with people in major cities moving to underground shelters where possible. No one knew how the hegemony would respond to Earth's demonstration of power. Finally, the moment arrived. Laura stood in the command center, a direct link to the Harbinger facility open on the main screen. Dr. Winters and Dr. Kelly were visible standing before their control panels. Target is locked, Frank reported. Hegemony mining vessel at coordinates, near Neptune. The ship is approximately the size of Manhattan, currently extracting methane from Neptune's atmosphere. Any crew aboard? Laura asked. Unknown, Frank replied. But given the automation we've observed in their operations, likely minimal. Laura took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change humanity's future. Either they would show the hegemony that Earth could defend itself, or they would fail and face destruction. Activate Project Harbinger, she ordered. On the screen, Frank nodded to Susan, who entered a command sequence. The Antarctic facility hummed with energy as the quantum disruption device powered up. In orbit around Earth, the satellite platform adjusted its position, aligning with distant Neptune. Quantum field initializing, Susan reported. Cascade sequence in progress. Frank watched the readings on his console. Field integrity at 100%, target lock maintained. Deploying in 3, 2, 1. Susan pressed the final button. The command center was silent. On the tactical displays, nothing seemed to happen at first. Then, near Neptune, a small dot representing the hegemony mining vessel simply vanished. No explosion, no debris field, just a perfect sphere of empty space where a massive ship had been moments before. Target neutralized, Frank confirmed, his voice barely above a whisper. The room erupted in a mixture of cheers and stunned silence. Laura watched the screens carefully, monitoring the other hegemony vessels for any reaction. Send the message, she ordered Alan. The second communication to the hegemony was brief. This was a demonstration of Earth's defensive capabilities. We have multiple weapons platforms capable of targeting any vessel in our solar system. Withdraw immediately or face similar consequences. Laura stared at the screen showing the hegemony mothership still in Earth orbit. The message had been sent. Now they would see if the aliens understood the warning. Message sent, Alan confirmed. Now, we wait, Laura said quietly. Earth had fired its first shot in an interstellar war. There was no going back. The hegemony's response was immediate. All mining operations throughout the solar system ceased. The massive mothership moved from Earth orbit to a position behind the moon, as if seeking cover. Smaller vessels that had been scanning Earth pulled back to join the mothership. "They're afraid," Alan said, watching the tactical display in the command center. "They didn't expect us to have this kind of technology." Laura studied the movements of the alien ships. The lieutenant was right. The hegemony forces were behaving defensively now. Their arrogance had vanished the moment their mining vessel disappeared. "They're hailing us," Alan reported suddenly. "Coming in on the same frequency as before." Laura straightened her uniform. "Put it on screen." The alien commander appeared, its gray skin looking paler than before. Its eye stalks moved nervously, scanning beyond the camera as if looking for threats. When it spoke, the colors rippling across its chest seemed more rapid, less controlled. "What technology have you deployed?" The translation came through. "This violation of physical laws is not possible for a species at your development stage." Laura stood tall before the communication screen. "We call it Project Harbinger. What you witnessed was a controlled demonstration against an unmanned vessel. We have multiple deployment platforms capable of targeting any point in our solar system with precision. This is our formal response to your colonization attempt." The alien's eye stalks quivered. "You cannot possess such technology. It is forbidden by hegemony law for non-member species to develop weapons of mass destruction." "We didn't develop it," Laura replied calmly. "We reverse-engineered it from one of your scout ships that crashed here decades ago. Your own technology turned against you." This revelation sent visible shockwaves through the alien command crew visible in the background of the transmission. Several moved quickly out of frame, presumably to report this information to their superiors. "You have one standard Earth day to remove all hegemony presence from our solar system," Laura continued. "Any vessels remaining after that time will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Furthermore, Earth hereby declares the entirety of the Sol system sovereign territory, closed to all hegemony traffic in perpetuity." The alien commander seemed at a loss for words. Finally it responded, "This matter must be referred to the Central Authority. Your claim will be investigated." "Investigate all you want," Laura said firmly. "But do it from outside our solar system, one Earth day. That is our final offer." The transmission ended. Laura turned to face her team. "What do you think they'll do?" Alan asked. Laura watched the tactical display showing the alien mothership already beginning to power its engines. "They're bureaucrats and bullies, not warriors. They prey on pre-spaceflight civilizations because they're easy targets. They've never encountered resistance like this before." She smiled grimly. "Besides, they don't know that we only have one functional Harbinger platform, not dozens. Sometimes the perception of strength is as effective as strength itself." "Commander," called Captain Olivia Ross from her station, "we're detecting power surges in the mothership. They appear to be preparing their main engines." "Are they targeting Earth?" Laura asked sharply. Olivia shook her head. "Trajectory calculations suggest they're preparing to leave the system entirely. They're plotting a course that will take them past Mars orbit." A cheer went up around the command center, but Laura raised her hand for quiet. "Stay focused. We're not safe until they're gone. Maintain all alert levels and keep Harbinger ready." Laura opened a secure channel to the Antarctic facility. Dr. Winters appeared on screen, looking exhausted but relieved. "They're running," Laura told him. "But we need to be prepared in case this is a trick. Can the platform target their mothership if necessary?" Frank nodded. "Yes, but there's a complication. The Harbinger device needs 12 hours to recharge. After use, we pushed it beyond its designed limits for the first shot. If we need to fire again before the recharge is complete, the effect might be unpredictable." Laura frowned. "How unpredictable?" "We could see reduced range, incomplete dissolution of the target or system failure," Frank explained. "Susan is working on speeding up the recharge process, but the technology is still experimental." "Understood," Laura said. "Let's hope we don't need a second shot." For the next 6 hours, Earth's defense forces tracked the hegemony mothership. As it moved away from the moon and accelerated toward the edge of the solar system, smaller vessels joined it, forming a convoy that seemed eager to put distance between themselves and Earth. President Wilson called a meeting of world leaders to discuss next steps. On screens around the Situation Room, faces looked both relieved and concerned. The immediate threat appears to be passing, President Wilson said, but we must prepare for the possibility that the hegemony will return with greater forces. I agree, Madam President, Laura said. They won't take this humiliation lightly. We've challenged their authority and shown we have technology they thought was theirs alone. Then we must use this time wisely, said the Russian president. Project Harbinger must be expanded. One platform is not enough to defend Earth if they return with a fleet. We should also consider reaching out to other species, suggested the Indian Prime Minister. The hegemony cannot be the only civilization among the stars. There may be others who would welcome allies against them. President Wilson nodded. All good points. Commander Bennett, what's your assessment? When might the hegemony return and what form might their response take? Laura considered the question carefully. Based on their behavior, I believe the hegemony is more bureaucratic than militaristic. They'll need to consult their leadership, assess the threat we pose, and develop a strategy. That could take months or even years in Earth time. She pulled up a star chart on the main display. We don't know where their home world is or how large their territory might be, but given the technology of their ships, they could potentially travel faster than light. If they have a military fleet, it could arrive much sooner. Then we prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, President Wilson decided. I'm authorizing full production of additional Harbinger platforms. Dr. Winters will supervise the construction of a global defense network. The Chinese president spoke next. We should also accelerate our space program. If Earth becomes a target, we need colonies elsewhere as a backup for humanity. Agreed, President Wilson said. The Mars colony will be rebuilt and expanded. We'll also fast-track the plans for bases on Europa and Titan. As the meeting continued, Laura received an urgent message from the command center. She excused herself and hurried back to the main floor. What is it? She asked Alan. The mothership has increased speed, he reported. They're now at the orbit of Mars and still accelerating. At this rate, they'll clear the solar system within 12 hours. Laura nodded. They can't get away fast. Enough. Keep tracking them until they're beyond our sensor range. Looking at the tactical display, Laura felt a mixture of pride and concern. Earth had stood up to an interstellar empire and won the first round. But this was just the beginning. The hegemony now knew Earth was not the easy target they had expected. The question was, what would they do with that information? As if reading her thoughts, Alan asked, Do you think they'll come back? Laura watched as the alien ships grew smaller, on the display, fleeing from the world they had come to conquer. Yes, she said quietly, but next time we'll be ready. 6 months had passed since the hegemony ships fled the solar system. Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined before first contact. Nations that had once been rivals now worked together toward common goals. The threat from beyond the stars had united humanity in ways decades of diplomacy had failed to achieve. In the newly constructed United Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva, Admiral Laura Bennett, recently promoted from commander, stood before representatives from every nation on Earth. The large meeting hall buzzed with energy as scientists, military leaders, and government officials gathered to hear her report. Laura took a deep breath as she approached the podium. At 43, she had become the face of Earth's defense forces, the woman who had stood firm against an alien empire. Her dark hair now had a few strands of gray, evidence of the stress of the past 6 months. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice carrying through the hall. I'm pleased to report that the Harbinger Defense Network is now fully operational. All 12 satellite platforms are in position and functioning at optimal levels. Applause filled the room. What had begun as a single experimental weapon was now a global shield, capable of protecting Earth from threats throughout the solar system. Additionally, Laura continued when the applause died down, our early warning system extends to the orbit of Pluto. Any ship entering our solar system will be detected immediately, giving us ample time to respond. Dr. Frank Winters stepped forward to join Laura at the podium. The past months had aged him visibly, his hair now completely white. but there was pride in his eyes as he addressed the assembly. "The Harbinger technology has been successfully replicated and improved," he announced. "We now understand the principles behind it far better than we did 6 months ago. This has led to several breakthroughs in other areas of science." Frank activated a holographic display showing a sleek spacecraft unlike anything Earth had built before. "Using principles derived from the Harbinger project, we've developed an FTL drive system, faster than light travel. Our first deep space vessel, the UES Defender, will launch next month. We estimate it can reach Alpha Centauri in under 2 weeks." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Humanity was no longer confined to its solar system. The stars, once unreachable, were now within grasp. President Wilson rose from her seat in the front row. "Admiral Bennett, Dr. Winters, on behalf of all nations of Earth, I thank you for your tireless work. 6 months ago, we faced extinction. Today, we stand on the threshold of a new age for humanity." She turned to address the entire assembly. "But we must remain vigilant. The hegemony knows about us now. They know we possess technology they thought was theirs alone. We must prepare for the possibility that they will return." Laura nodded in agreement. "Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in several nearby star systems. We believe the hegemony is gathering information, perhaps preparing for another approach. But this time, we'll be ready." After the meeting, Laura and Frank walked through the gardens surrounding the headquarters building. Spring had come to Geneva, bringing fresh green leaves to the trees and colorful flowers to the beds. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," Frank said, looking up at the clear blue sky. "A year ago, we were just another planet, isolated and alone in the universe. Now we're preparing to visit the stars." Laura smiled. "And we've detected signals from at least 3 different alien civilizations within 50 light years. Not all, part of the hegemony, potential allies," Frank suggested, "or potential threats." "Either way," Laura replied, "we'll be ready. The hegemony made a critical error when they underestimated Earth. No one will make that mistake again." They reached a viewpoint overlooking Lake Geneva. In the distance, the snow-capped Alps rose against the horizon. It was a peaceful scene, one worth protecting. "The UES Defender will be ready for its maiden voyage soon," Frank said. "They've asked me to go along as a scientific advisor." Laura raised an eyebrow. "Are you going to accept?" Frank smiled, looking younger than he had in months. "How could I refuse? The chance to see another star system with my own eyes, and it's what I've dreamed of since I was a boy." "Just make sure you come back," Laura said. "We still have work to do here." Frank nodded. "The improved Harbinger platforms, I've seen the designs. Smaller, more efficient, capable of being fitted to ships." "Defense and exploration," Laura said. "Two sides of the same coin. We need to be able to protect our ships once they leave the solar system." A young aide approached them, tablet in hand. "Admiral Bennett, we've received a transmission from Deep Space Monitoring Station 4. They've detected an object entering the solar system at high speed." Laura's smile faded. "Hegemony?" The aide shook her head. "Unknown design. Definitely not hegemony based on our records. It's small, possibly a scout ship or automated probe." Laura and Frank exchanged glances. "Alert level 2, Laura ordered. "Track its course but take no hostile action unless provoked, and send a standard greeting message on all frequencies." "Yes, Admiral," the aide replied, hurrying away. "And so it begins again," Frank said quietly. Laura nodded. "But this time we're not helpless. This time we know what's out there." She looked up at the sky, at the stars that would soon be visible as night fell. "And they know about us too." In the 6 months since the hegemony's retreat, Earth had sent out its own message to the galaxy. Not a message of fear or aggression, but a simple statement of fact. Earth was defended. Humanity would not be conquered, would not be subjugated, and would not be intimidated. The warning had been sent, and it would never be forgotten. As darkness fell over Geneva, lights began to appear in the headquarters building and the city beyond. From space, Earth would look much as it always had, a blue-green jewel spinning in the darkness. But it was different now. Protected, ready, and reaching for the stars.